Hi guys, my name is Mark Müller. I'm part of the Every Nation Dorado congregation, and I'm the worship director there. So today I want to speak around obedience and just sharing on my life story on specifically obedience and how obedience really pushed me to the place that I am at now. And it's not just obedience to God, but just being obedient to the call that I had on my life. So a lot of people don't know, or a lot of the newer people don't know, that the drums was actually the very first instrument that I played, and I like to call it my first love. Although we know that God is your first love, but in terms of instruments, the drums is my first love. So back in the day, many years ago, we had a pastor. At that stage, it was Pastor Franklin. And I was serving on the sound ministry at that stage, and they were looking for a drummer. They didn't have a drummer at that stage, so they asked me, like, Mark, do you know how to play drums? I was like, no, I haven't touched an instrument at that time ever in my life. So I was like, no, I don't know how to play drums. So he said, you know what, just come to the stage, just sit behind the drums, and we'll see what you can do. So obviously, for me, I can imagine how drums is supposed to sound like, because I have been into music. I was always into music. So I have an idea of how it's supposed to sound like, but I'm not sure necessarily what I need to play when. Like, these things, I don't even know the names of the stuff yet he's asking me to play. So I sit behind the drum set and I start playing. And then the pastor said, you know what? You are going to play tomorrow. You're going to be on the worship team for tomorrow. And at that time I was like, yes, but I was also freaking out. I wasn't like sure. What does it mean? Will I mess up? Will I not mess up? But that was beside the point. So that was where my journey of worship started. And that was not the first time. So I never learned how to play drums before then. So it was number one, because of my heart. I just had a heart to want to worship God, to want to give God everything that I am. And then the second part was also when I started learning, or when I started getting onto worship. There was also the time that I started playing guitar, and I also couldn't sing, so I didn't lead worship at that time. But I said, God, you know what? I want to worship you with everything that I have. I want to worship you just because of who you are. And the very first time I sang, people were like, okay, at that time there was a group of us together, and they were like, okay, nah, I don't think you can sing. But my heart was just like, I want to worship God, and I'll even try writing songs. So that was when my journey of worship leading started. So even there, it was supernatural that God gave me the ability to sing. He gave me the ability to play an instrument I've never played before. But it was because of my heart. So God saw my heart of wanting to worship Him 100%, wanting to give Him everything that I am. And how this relates to obedience and how I started that journey was, if I did not step into that place of God, where God drew me and where God called me. Imagine if I wasn't obedient to the pastor at that time. Imagine if I didn't decide, hey, let me also go try and sit behind the drums. Imagine if I wasn't obedient to the people that told me, Mark, try it, try to sing, try to play this instrument. If I wasn't obedient to that, I wouldn't be at the place that I'm at now. And many times we think that obedience is just, when we read the Bible, we think, okay, obedience is just related to God. No, but sometimes God also uses people in our lives that causes, that makes us want to be obedient, or causes us to be obedient. And if we reject those moments, if we reject those opportunities, we are not being obedient to God. So obedience is not just where God is giving you something to do, or where God has spoken something to you to say, I want you to do this, or this is what I've called you for. It is not just that. It's even in the moments where your brother or your sister or somebody comes to you, a leader comes to you and say, you know what, I really see that there's something inside of you. If you are not obedient in that time and in that stage, you might miss the opportunity that God has for you. So my journey of God was with God, and my journey of worship, and my journey of just being in the place that I am at now in worship ministry and instruments and singing, and my passion and love for God was because I was obedient in those moments. It was because I held on and I said, you know what, let me take a shot at this. So I want to encourage you today to say that it doesn't matter what place you are at in your life. It doesn't matter even if God has spoken to you something years ago. But the importance is when you know and when you can say that, God, I want to be obedient to you, that will be the start of you stepping into your destiny. So a lot, and our destinies can and is possibly also determined by the choices that we make, the choices of obedience we make. So where obedience comes in is very important for you, either stepping into your destiny or taking a long time to get to your destiny. So there's many aspects in my life. I know I wasn't obedient to God, but the one thing I know, that obedience is key. Obedience is important in growing and developing your relationship with God. So I want to encourage you, in moments that you have with God, in moments that people are speaking into your life, in those moments, be obedient, because you never know where those steps and those acceptance and those holding on to what God has for you, you never know where that will take you. Because I didn't know that I would be at this place today at that time when I took that step of obedience. But now when I look back, I'm like, wow, God, imagine if I was not obedient. Imagine if I resisted the call at that point and at that time. So take steps and take strides and hold on to the words that God gives you, even if it's through other people, because obedience really is much better than sacrifice.